in the Wall Street Journal argues that colleges should be more like prisons. I'm not kidding. Because the inmates are actually better learners than woke grads and undergrads. Now, this was written by Brooke Allen, who's a professor of literature and a regular contributor to publications like the Wall Street Journal and the New York Times. We're gonna read you excerpts from her piece. We wanna be fair to her, obviously, but she does seem to celebrate the way inmates learn and kind of wants to make a statement about how regular college students learn. And I don't really know what she thinks the appropriate solutions are, but let's give you the statements. Many of us who care deeply about education in the humanities can only feel despair at the state of our institutions of higher learning. Enrollment in these subjects is plummeting, and students who take literature and history classes often come in with rudimentary ideas about the disciplines. Okay, I'm gonna stop already because I don't teach those subjects. I don't teach literature, but I do know what it's like to teach journalism on a college level. And I will say that she has a point when it comes to people getting accepted into colleges when they aren't necessarily ready for it. You get what I'm saying? So for instance, when you're teaching journalism, you assign, you have assignments, like they need to go cover stories, for instance. And I remember like reading a bunch of the articles that my students would turn in, and I'm like, do you guys know how to read and write? There was a little bit of that. And so grade inflation is real. That is definitely a reality. And I do want to give her some credit in bringing that up.
Yeah.
Okay?
No, look, it's grade inflation's everywhere.
Yeah.
I know private schools in LA that say the parents will be furious if we don't give A's.
Yeah.
And so that greatly affects how they grade the exams and the homework, et cetera. And by the way, you're gonna know a lot less about history if you live in a red state now and you can't teach about racism, you erase certain parts of American history.
Yep.
Yeah, then of course you're just not going to be equipped to learn at a college level where you have to learn actual facts.
Now, she goes on to provide what Allen calls a sharp contrast between college goers and the students that she teaches in other environments. Never have I been more grateful to teach where I do. At a men's maximum security prison, these men are highly motivated and hardworking. They tend to read each assignment 2 or 3 times before coming to class and take notes as well. Some of them have been incarcerated for 20 or 30 years and have been reading books all that time. But Brooke, do you understand why? They are in prison. There really isn't much to do, right? Like the environment is different, and an environment where, especially right now, most college students have to think about how to pay for college, right? That is not necessarily conducive to being hyper-focused on the material that you're assigning versus someone who is incarcerated and really doesn't have as much to do compared to a regular student, or doesn't have as many distractions, let me put it that way, compared to a regular student.
Yeah, why are we having this conversation? Okay, so there's a literal answer to that question, and that answer is really interesting, but I'm gonna save that for last. So are you serious? Yeah, they read the material 2 or 3 times. Of course, they literally have nothing else to do. They're in maximum security, they're in a cage, right? So do you want to put the college students in a cage? So yeah, no, it's a great thing that we have distractions in college. That's why college is a great time. Yeah, you learn a little bit. Yeah, you get a degree that's important in your life, but it's also kind of important to have those bonding moments with people and to actually enjoy your life, right? So the drinking, the sports, and all the other things that you do is an enormous part of college. And if you don't have as much time to read the material 2 or 3 times over, you're gonna be all right, okay? And so this is already absurd to begin with. But there's one other element to why they work harder. So she said, some of them have been in prison for 20, 30 years. That means they're older, right? So when I was a kid and I went to school, I wanted to work as little as possible. I'm keeping it real. But in my family, my mom went to school in her 40s, went to Fashion Institute of Technology, great school in college in New York. And she was the best student they had by a lot, Why? Because she cared so much about the material that she went back into school to volunteer to do all that work. She enjoyed that work, right? My sister's getting a PhD now, just helped a Harvard professor on something. She was like, oh my God, this is incredible. Why? Because my sister cares. That's why she's getting a PhD even though she's in her 50s, right? So the older inmates and older students, period, care more and they've got a lot more time. This is an absurdity.
Yeah,
right?
In fact, you made me remember some of the stuff that I experienced personally when it came to college. So I graduated undergrad early, like 2 years early, because when I was in high school, I took a bunch of college classes simultaneously and was able to enter undergrad as a junior as opposed to a freshman, right? And then as soon as I was done with that, I immediately applied to grad school, got in. And so I went to grad school at like the age of 20. And honestly, I wish I hadn't have gotten accepted. I wasn't ready for it. I wish I had the time to go back and relive that experience today with who I am today, because I didn't engage in those discussions and those debates, right? I didn't feel confident enough because I didn't know enough. And my grasp of the material, I understood it, but not in the critical and analytical way that I understand it today. You get what I'm saying?
Yeah, I know. So a lot of people say, youth is wasted on the young. We say wealth is wasted on the wealthy because they don't seem to enjoy it. But education is in a lot of ways wasted on the young too. I mean, of course they need it, and of course that's the right way to do it to prepare them for the rest of their lives. But would I get more out of college if I went now? Of course,
totally.
Of course. Look. But that's still not the #1 mistake that Anna made about college. You should have gone on campus and lived in a dorm.
No, hell no. I made the right decision. I have no student loan debt. I have zero regrets when it comes to that.
I hear you.
I get it, yes, I should have lived it up and partied, but I have friends who did that and they're drowning in debt.
I hear. Or you could have gone to prison and inside a maximum security prison, or gone to college inside a maximum security prison, which I hear is the best place to get.
I mean, I was living with my parents till I was 26, so
yeah,
same.
Crazy.
Yeah.
Well, I know, right? So look, guys. So why is this in the Wall Street Journal? Like, it's absurd, right? Well, that's the interesting thing about news and power and all these different things that no one ever tells you. It's the pre-selection process that makes so much of a difference. So we, in the old days, a couple of years ago, I've given up on it because it's got so absurd. And we would get a couple of op-eds in the major papers, Wall Street Journal, Washington Post, etc. But I stopped doing it because they kept saying like, no, I would write a progressive op-ed, and they said that's not our narrative. We're looking for this narrative. But that doesn't make any sense. Yeah, I know you're looking for a pro-corporate narrative, but that's not who I am. So the way that they pick what articles and op-eds go into the paper, that's the magic trick. So the progressive op-eds get wiped out, and you never hear that side. This thing that's like, well, prison's not so bad, right? An earlier article on Bloomberg that we did in the story, the 4-day work week, bad, real bad.
Makes workers sad.
Yeah, it makes workers sad, right? So those are the decisions that the papers are making to feed you this stuff, right? And so the #1 reason, by the way, corporate media, they turn it into politics, doesn't want you to vote in primaries and thinks, oh, primaries are bad for the party, bad, don't. If you're a Democrat, vote for the incumbent. Primaries will hurt your party so bad, right? Is because the magic is in the selection process. You get terrible politicians because your only choices were terrible politicians. And if you had good people running in primaries and the media was open to it, you'd have much better options. If the Wall Street Journal and Bloomberg, et cetera, gave you just as many interesting progressive ideas and articles that push those things, you might be open to those. But right now, because of the pre-selection process, you think, should I send my kids to prison?
Yeah, no, no. But my favorite part is where she talks about how, look, the problem is college students, they have short attention spans because they're in front of screens all day. They're on their phone all day. And I love that argument because she is delusional enough to think that there aren't cell phones in prisons. right? It's
well,
illegal,
there's that too,
contraband or whatever, but they've got cell phones. Believe me, believe me, believe me. They have the best cell phones. They're almost invisible. The prison guards can't see them. It's almost like the American jets that our military has.
This randomly turned into a Trump thing.
But look, to be fair, we do have shorter attention spans, and it's a little bit of an issue. It's not just college students, it's all of us.
Yeah, and that happened to society, but it's not gonna be fixed by going to college inside a prison.
Man, we live in the craziest news cycle, we really do.
Thanks for watching The Young Turks, really appreciate it. Another way to show support is through YouTube memberships. You'll get to interact with us more. There's live chat emojis, badges. You've got emojis of me, Anna, John, JR, so those are super fun. But you also get playback of our exclusive member-only shows and specials right after they air. So all of that, all you gotta do is click that join button right underneath the video. Thank you.